Good day, fellow champions of inclusion. I am AA Ron, and this is the Inclusive Dad Podcast, where we explore inclusion and make it practical. Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe, rate, or review the show on your favorite platform. We truly appreciate your feedback and would be honored if you shared the podcast with friends and family who might benefit. If you want to support us in our mission, please click on the link in the show description. Today, my guest is Michelle. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you. Welcome. Thanks for having me. I really
Absolutely.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why don't you go ahead and tell me a little bit about yourself?
sure. My name is Michelle Choairy. I am a mom of what I like to call a complex kid. And he's 10 years old and he has a genetic disorder that's called TB1. And he is one of 190 kids in the world with this disorder. So for the past 8 years, since he didn't speak and he was very developmentally delayed, I have become his best and the only advocate in his life. And so I'm here to share that story with you guys, what I've gone through and how we got to where we are today.
That's great. So my first question I ask is, what is your definition of inclusion? And I'll read what you submitted. So you submitted, all people, independent of race or disability, have the rights to have the best life. You want to go into that a little more?
Sure. I My feeling is that no matter who you are, no matter where you are in the world, you deserve to have the best life. And it does not matter if you have a disability, if you don't have one, if you're a different race, it doesn't matter. That everyone deserves to have their best life. That's my definition of inclusion.
That's great. So for me, I didn't, growing up, don't ever remember hearing the word disability, don't remember seeing anybody in a wheelchair or anything. Um, do you,
Mhm.
do you, did you have any, experience with, disability or complex children before, your son was born?
No, now that I look back, I probably had a brother who was a complex kid,
Okay.
but he was only about a year or two younger than me. So I really, growing up, I didn't realize what was happening, but I do remember how difficult it was with him. But I didn't. And I grew up in Brazil.
Okay.
So growing up in Brazil, you see even less, I think, because they don't have a lot of public schools. And
Sure.
so if you have any kind of a little bit of money, you go to a private school, and the private schools usually don't take those children. And so I had zero, zero, besides my brother, interaction with
Okay.
disability or complexity or anything like that.
Sure. So after your son was born, how did you or what did you do to find out more about that? Or since you hadn't much experience with it, what was your first steps to try to figure out what was going on or get the support you need?
Yeah, he was born premature, and
Okay.
he stayed in the NICU for 4 weeks after that. We had to get him to a point where he could eat on his own. He was breathing on his own since the beginning, but the eating was an issue, and he needed to grow. He was only 3 pounds, and of course, we couldn't take him out of the hospital that way.
Yeah. Sure.
So, because he's in the NICU, we actually got followed up on every 6 months until
Okay.
he was about 3 years old. And the hospital would just have us come back. And during that process, when he started getting to the 12 months, 18 months, started noticing the delay, and they started saying, hey, this is something you might need to look at. They actually gave me a referral to, here in California, it's the state funded program. It's called the Regional Center. And that is where they refer people and the kids, the moms and the dads that have these delayed children.
Yep.
and we were able to get in. And so we ended up with some services at a pretty young age, probably at
Okay.
about 18 months or 2 years old. But that's kind of how it started. And we have gone through so much to this day. And it wasn't really until about 2 years ago that we discovered that he has this genetic disorder.
Okay.
We just we kind of band-aided, right? There's a band-aid here. He has childhood apraxia speech, so there's a speech therapist. He has
Right.
behavioral issues, so here's a BCBA. And so
Yep.
you just have, you kind of just all into pieces, and nothing has really changed since the diagnosis, but we now understand that it's not for me as a mom. It wasn't something that I did when
Right.
I was pregnant with him.
Yep.
And it wasn't something that, like, we were just awful parents. It wasn't
Yeah.
anything like that. So yeah, that's where we are today. It's been a road. It's been a journey for sure.
Yeah. So for us it was like my daughter at 3 months old. Somebody one of our aunts who was a nurse noticed she was staring off to the side at Christmas. So then we brought her in. She was diagnosed with epilepsy. I don't remember at what age we had like early childhood stuff happening, but it was pretty early on as well for us. But it was just a lot of just learning on the fly, or just I like I said, I didn't know anything about it, so introducing into that, I just kind of relied on the doctors or school to tell me what I needed to know, and then after stuff happens, you kind of like, well, that didn't make any sense. We need to ask more questions. Did you what was your experience with, talking to doctors or school? How was that experience for you?
So I was actually, my son had very bad reflux. He
Okay.
had this cough that would not go away. And you'll understand why I'm telling this story in a minute. But I used to go to the pediatrician almost every week. I'm like, something is wrong, something is wrong,
Hmm.
something is wrong. And I knew that something was going on. I got to the pediatrician's office and somebody pulled my husband aside and said, "Are you sure that she's not making this stuff up?"
Oh, wow.
And he actually came home and he started questioning this, right? Are we doing this to our child? And so that was when, of course, the first, number one, I never went back to that pediatrician's office.
Yeah.
Number two, it was, I'm like, okay, well, maybe I need to learn more about this. So, but I think that the biggest thing that I got was, oh, he's gonna be fine. He's gonna outgrow it. It's gonna be okay. So and so didn't speak until he was 5. So
Sure.
don't worry about it. I think that that was the what I got the most, because people couldn't see the disability. They couldn't see what was truly happening.
Sure.
We could, because we were with him 24/7. So
Yeah.
we could see, we knew.
Right.
Nobody else could. And so that's where I had that issue in the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense to me. Our my experience was more of I'm not sure where it's from, just how I grew up, but just I didn't question like people like doctors or teachers, like I'm not sure if their position in my mind was like you couldn't question what they said, so I just didn't really question it until stuff happens where it's like, well, that doesn't make any sense. So then I would start asking questions, and that kind of started open up the world to me. Just they're people just like I am. They've gone to school. They're making the best decision they can at the time, but they're just human. So that doesn't mean they're always going to be right, or I don't have to agree with them. So just that recognizing that they are human, I can ask questions, and then that helps open
Mm.
up a whole new world, especially for our daughter. With the inclusion piece, because she was qualifies as severely multiply impaired, so she uses a wheelchair, has vision, PTOT, lots of stuff. So she got sent across town to like the segregated setting because we didn't know any better, and then found out about inclusion, and it's like, hey, let's try that. So That was a lot of
Yeah.
just, didn't really question stuff until it's like something's like that doesn't really make sense. So let's start asking questions, and then
Isn't it interesting how it is? Like, you don't really know. And I think that that's the majority of the parents out there that are just starting this journey. They
right,
don't know what to ask. They don't know
for sure,
who to ask. They
right,
don't know where to go. And you go to a pediatrician's office where they're saying, "Are you sure you're not making this stuff up?" Or a pediatrician who has no idea where to direct you
right,
to. And I mean, what are we supposed to do?
yeah,
Right? What are they supposed to do when they don't know?
yeah,
And I think that people like you and like me, and there's so many other parents out there that have gone through this, and we're bringing this awareness to everyone. Hey, start early, start
yeah,
asking questions, research. Early intervention is the best thing that you can do for your child. If you have, I talk about the mama gut. If you have, and it probably is for daddies too,
yeah,
but that gut feeling, if there's something that you think, like, slightest possibility, take him in, take her in, and
yeah,
try to figure it out, because it could be that it's nothing and awesome, great, amazing. But if it
right,
is something, you caught it early enough and you can learn early enough and not make as many mistakes as waiting till later on in their lives.
for sure. Yeah, I talk about that too. Like if you're as a parent or mom or dad, you feel like something's like they go to school or something's just not right. I mean, ask questions. I mean, it's your gut's telling you something. Don't ignore it because I mean, and you need to ask questions. I mean, if people get upset, that's kind of on them. But if there's something at school that's not the way you think it should be, or like you saying you're going to the doctor, there's some something's wrong, but they're not validating it. They're not checking it out. I mean, keep on it for sure.
Mhm. Go find somebody else. They're
Yeah.
not giving you the
Yep.
answers that you need. Go
Yep.
get somebody else, because there's so many providers out there. There is
Yep.
absolutely no need to stick with one that is not giving you the answers
For
to
sure.
the questions you have.
Right. That's another good point too. Also, it just popped up. Like, also, just you can if you don't you and the provider don't get along because I mean we all have different like personalities and we get along with certain types of people. Like if you're with a neurologist, let's say, and you guys just don't jive or it's just not a good fit. I mean, go find somebody else. You don't need to stick with somebody either that isn't good for you or your child either. So
For
that's
sure.
also
Please
for sure.
don't.
Yeah.
Please don't. Like, it's not worth it.
No.
Now, as you know, specialists are a rarity these days. And
Yep.
the ones that we do have are booked out 6, 9, 12 months.
For
I
sure.
got a call from our children's hospital. Drake's neurologist had referred us to this program. And they said, when they called me, they said, "This is an intake. Don't expect to hear from us for 12 months." I was like, "Okay,
Wow.
all right. I guess I'll talk to you in a year if you even accept my case," right?
Right.
So, and this is what I tell a lot of the moms that I work with. There is no better day to put your son or your daughter on a waiting list than right now at
For
this
sure.
minute.
Yep.
Just do it. Just do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a long time. That's crazy.
It's crazy. I'm in Orange County, California, so it is a big area. There's a
Sure.
lot of, there's a lot of pediatricians in the area, and there's a lot of pediatric specialists,
Right.
but some of them don't take certain insurance. This is actually happening a lot
Oh.
with speech therapists, occupational therapists, neurologists, psychiatrists. They're getting away from accepting insurances and going into private pay. And then they say, "Well, we'll give you a super bill and you can submit this to the insurance later and they will pay you for it if they pay you," which is usually like pennies on what you are paying them.
Right. Right.
And so I've been running into a lot of that. And even those specialists are still booked out by 6 to 9 months.
Well. So you
Yeah.
said Did you say your son is like one of 190 people in the world that have that diagnosis?
Yes. Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy. Have you guys met any other families with
Yes.
okay.
We actually, so the Facebook group, and that's how I found, like, as soon as I found out about the diagnosis, that was pretty much the only thing that comes up in there. There's a couple of studies here and there that people have done in rats, and there's absolutely nothing else.
Okay.
And they think that this is underdiagnosed because it wasn't until about 3 years ago that they were able to actually test that disorder.
Okay. Sure.
So anybody that had been tested, had a genetic test done before 3 years ago, it would have shown as negative because it wouldn't have come up. So as we are going through this, I honestly, I'm saying about 190. About 4 months ago, we had like 160. So it's popping up more and more and
Sure.
more.
Okay.
I think that they are more aware of testing for genetic disorders earlier on. And so about on September 1st, it was TBR1 Awareness Day, World Awareness Day. And I had the amazing, I was just so lucky to have 5 families come to my house. They were all from Southern California, and we all got together with the 5 kiddos that are
Mhm.
in the Southern California area, and we celebrated the Awareness Day together. And it was really, really fun. It was heartfelt. It
Right.
was good to have the community, and we talk on a regular basis now. We help each other out, and there's a lot of questions that, especially for them, because my son is 10, but some of these kiddos are 15 months, two
Okay.
years old, three
Sure.
years old.
Yep.
And so it was amazing. And so I do have contact with a lot of the TBR1 moms and families, and
Sure.
I'm going to continue to have that. And hopefully we are in the process of starting a TBR1 foundation,
Okay.
a
Good.
nonprofit, so we can
Yep.
start, funding researches and things like that. So hopefully that will be in the next few months. We can get that going.
That's great. Yeah, when when my daughter was young, we joined the Minnesota or Epilepsy Foundation of Minnesota. So it was just really great to be able to go to a place where we didn't have to tell our story every time. We were all kind of in the same boat and just show up, have like a dance or have a picnic or something, and just enjoy time together. So yeah, it's really fun that way.
I
Connect,
think that
have
you
that
touched on.
have that connection with the family that you just walk in the room and you kind of know it. You don't have to explain yourself.
That's exactly what I'm going to say. There's something to be said about that village, about that community, people that understand what you're going
Right.
through. My best friends these days, we have been friends since our kiddos were 3 years old. They were in preschool together, and we've stayed friends because we understand each other, and we know that if we're on a play date, somebody might melt down. You're going to leave what we're doing, the conversation we're having. You're going to go take care of
Right.
your child. You're going to come back, and we understand each other. It's fine.
Right.
That's how it
Yeah.
is, and you have to have those people around you
Yeah, for sure.
because others don't understand where you're coming from. They don't know how to act. They don't know what
Right.
to do or what to say.
Yeah. So what does school look like for your son? Does he have an IEP and all that kind of stuff? Or
Oh yeah. He
okay.
has an IEP, and he is currently on a what I call non-public school. Our school district here in California, they just didn't have the programs and the teachers, the what he truly needed. He's 10. He has a speech disorder. He has intellectual disability. He can't read and he can't write. He's in 5th grade. And and what they were doing in the school district wasn't working. And so about 3 years ago, we pulled him from the school district and we put him in this, what they call here in California, it's a non-public school, but basically it's a special education school.
Okay.
And I went to visit about 5 of them because the one that we were in before said, we can't accommodate him. He needed a different curriculum to learn, and
Sure.
nobody was giving him that. And so this school was the one that they said, we have this curriculum and we can offer this to him. So he has a full on IEP,
Yep.
speech, OT, social skills, counseling, parent counseling.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps going on and on and on. But he is in a great place. We've only been there about a month. We just had his IEP meeting yesterday for the 30 days, and they're great there. And I am a very, how do I put this in a nice way? I am his true advocate, and I don't let things pass I don't agree with. And
Sure.
I have made that very clear to them. And that's kind of how you get things around. If you are just starting your journey, if you listener, you're just starting your journey, understand that there's nobody else that's going to do the job that you need to do for your child. So that's kind of what, and he's in this great school. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
But you said it just last month, so it's just kind of a recent thing.
It is. It's a recent thing because he was in another non-public school before, but he wasn't learning. He wasn't
Right.
making progress,
Sure.
and we decided that he needed a different program. They
Yeah.
couldn't accommodate that because it's still a very mild class.
Sure.
So they had one teacher, one aide, and they had about 8 kids in the class. And so he didn't have that one-on-one sit down, and they couldn't have pull-outs for reading, especially as specialists in that school. So we had to move, basically,
Sure.
get him more ready for the world in a way,
Yeah.
less academic, more, hey, let's get you ready,
Sure.
yeah. So
What is
it's
what does he
been,
like to what does he like to do for fun?
he loves his friends. Oh my gosh, he loves his friends. He wants to have a play date all the time. And he is constantly bugging me. Who are we going to see this weekend? Who are we going to see this weekend?
Sure.
He loves horse therapy, so he does that twice a week. And it's been one of the greatest things. He loves animals. So any kind of animals that you put in his hands or anywhere close to him, oh my gosh, that kid, he wants to have a zoo at our house, which we're not allowing that to happen quite yet. We have a dog, and that's about it. That's where we're staying with for
Yeah.
right now. But he loves animals, and he really, truly loves friends. And of course, he loves technology and his iPad and his phone, which about 3 months ago, we took it all away, and they have no access to technology, only their TV in their room for Disney Plus and movies. They cannot watch YouTube. And it's been great.
There you
It was hard, very hard.
Yeah.
But his behavior improved like 80%.
Interesting.
It was incredible, the difference that it made.
That's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
yesterday, was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday, the Verizon problem with the phone, so my phone wasn't working. And it's like, oh my goodness. Then I was like, this is like what it was when I was younger, when we didn't have cell phones. Like I had to survive without a cell phone. Like this shouldn't be this hard.
Yeah. I remember having to carry, like coin around to put it in the pay phone to be able to
Right.
call somebody. So yeah.
Right.
I think we're in this new generation.
Yeah. How do you think we can use empathy to be more inclusive?
How do you think what?
How do you think we can use empathy to be more inclusive?
Oh my gosh. That's what it's all about, isn't it? Having empathy for others. I mean, if you don't, you can't be an inclusive person. You don't understand what that means. That's what it's
Right.
all about. That's my thought on empathy. And if you don't have empathy, you're not gonna be able to be an inclusive person, and in any way, any kind of disability, any kind of racial, anything like that.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%. What is one tip that you can share to help the listeners today to be more inclusive? Just not something where you have to pay money or take a class, just something simple that everybody can do today to be more inclusive.
I think that having empathy for people, that's probably one of the things. But the other thing too is putting yourselves in their shoes, in the parents' shoes, in the children's shoes. Don't think of it as coming from you. Understand that everybody's going through something, and be understanding of that. Put yourself in that situation if you can.
Sure. Yeah, that's great. What do you do for fun?
You know, this has been fun for me. I have a full time job. I work as a sales rep for an orthopedic company, a big orthopedic company in the United States. The operating room, making sure that the surgeons are using my products the correct way when
Okay.
they're fixing your ankles. And I've been doing this for 17 years. And about 4 months ago, this all came together. Collective wisdom for complex kids came to mind. And I have had so much fun being on podcasts, talking to mamas out there, like doing a live. Who would have thought? Who does that? Well, now I do. So
Right.
all of these new things that I'm learning, and really the best part is the community, having those mamas, like being able to help them, even if
Right.
it is just, hey, take some deep breaths, it's gonna be okay. Even if it is that kind of a message to them, this has been fun.
That's great.
So I'm loving it.
Where do you think it's going to end up taking you?
I'm not sure. I hope that it takes me to, speaking and to helping, basically, really, it's to help more people understand what it is that we go through as parents, and actually guiding these parents who are just starting the journey into, let me help you. You can do this. Trust me. It's not,
Right.
it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
So I think that that is what I want to do, and that is one of the things that I want to be known as a person that has helped, even if it is just one person. I don't care. I'm
Right.
having fun doing this, but even if it is that I'm just helping one person, it doesn't matter. I'm loving
Yeah.
this, and this is what I want to do. So
Yeah. That's great. Yeah, I just started my podcast. Let's see, beginning of August, so just a couple months. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun so far talking to great people like you and just finding out people's stories and sharing and talking. So I'm not sure where this is going to end up either for me, but it's certainly fun now and it's opening doors. So it's been a lot of fun for me too.
yeah, isn't it crazy? Like we have to grab things that are happening in our lives and something that we're passionate about to make this into something that we can share with others, and that
Right.
is shareable, something that's good to do good
Yeah.
in the world. And that's what I keep thinking is, how much can I help somebody? And you're in the same boat, you're doing the same thing. How can I talk about being an inclusive dad, being an inclusive in an inclusive world?
Right.
Like, I love that. I love
Thank you.
that. We need more of that. We need more of us in the world.
Absolutely. Is there anything you want to talk about that we haven't discussed yet?
I mean, I this has been so great, and I love talking about it. So I really could go on for a long time.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's, like I said, it's about helping the moms. It's about
Yep.
helping the kids ultimately, and making sure that they have what they need to be successful, to have their best life, right? It goes back to
Right.
what I talked about in the beginning. It's having their best life. And
Yeah.
it might look different than what you had planned for them,
Right.
but it will be their best life.
Yeah.
So
That's great. Ready for the last question?
sure, shoot. Let's see.
Do you like spam? Yes or no?
No.
No? Yeah, I asked. You're like, that's a weird question.
It is, but it's a good one. It's like caught me off guard a little bit.
Yeah. So I live in Austin, Minnesota, is where they make spam and where the spam museum's at. So I've been asking all my guests if they
Oh,
like it or not. So that's why I ask it. And so far, it's been more no's than yeses. So
I didn't grow up with it. Like we
right,
didn't have that in Brazil. And when I
sure,
moved here, I was in college, so I ate
yeah,
ramen noodles, corn, and bread. That's
sure,
what I survived on. And
yeah,
so I didn't get that spam thing, but it's funny. My husband loves it. I don't buy
nice.
it for the house, but he really likes it.
Yeah, that's one of those things. Either you like it or you don't. I guess I live here in the town where they make it, and I will eat it, but it's not like something I go out and buy just specifically to have. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's
Um,
great.
what's the best? Where's the best place for everybody to connect with you?
My website, which is wisdom number 4 complexkids.com, or you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, same thing, wisdom number 4 complexkids.com, or you can look up my name, which is not a very common name. So Michelle, last name is Choairy, Choairy, and you'll find me. I'm not that hard to find. So I would
Awesome.
love to. I actually have an ebook on how to prevent the meltdowns. So if the kids are having meltdowns, this is great. So just go on there. It's on my website. Talk to me, schedule a call if you want to, whatever you want to do. I would love to talk to you. So thank you
That's
for
awesome.
having me, though.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for being on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I hope you have a great night.
Yeah. To all of you listening, thank you for joining us on this episode of the Inclusive Dad Podcast. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please subscribe, rate, or review the show. Your feedback helps us connect with more champions of inclusion. Remember to share this podcast with friends and family who might benefit. If you want to support us in our mission, please click on the link in the show description. Together, we can make the world more inclusive. Until next time, stay empowered and be a champion for inclusion.